All right, my name is Megan and I work for Arizona Raft Adventures. And today's tip for your adventure of a lifetime is what shoes to wear on your Grand Canyon rafting trip. We get this question a lot, totally understandable because there's so many options out there for sure. And there are some, like if you talk to someone here in the office, they're going to tell you one brand versus another brand. There's so many brands out there. It doesn't necessarily matter exactly what brand you want or have or want to use, but I have a few that I will show you just because they are some good old faithful ones that we've used in the past, and some that I personally really like to wear down there and that other people in the office really like to wear. So before I even get into showing those though, and I'm also going to show river shoes, before I get into showing any of the shoe options that we're going to talk about today, I want to mention 4 different things that are going to be really important for your shoes in general. The first one is make sure that they're broken in before you get to the trip, because you don't want to be breaking in shoes while you're on the river. It'll cause a lot of blisters. You'll just have a lot of pain in general. If you can remember how it sometimes feels breaking in your shoes at first, they're not always the most comfortable shoe for your foot. And so I definitely recommend breaking them in before you get to the river, as that's just going to be 100% ideal for you. The second tip really is going to be about have shoes with really good tread on them. That's another thing that you want to do too, is make sure that you have shoes with really good tread, because they're going to help you grip better when you're on the trip, and they're just going to overall help you just hike more comfortably. So something with good tread, you don't want something with super worn out tread. Something with good solid tread on there is still going to be really helpful to you. And then the third tip is to not bring shoes that you have been using for like 10 years or even 5 years or even 3 years maybe. You may not necessarily want to wear something quite that old. Obviously, they're like good old faithful shoes that you probably love, that you're really comfortable hiking in, and that's great. But in general, those shoes might fall apart a lot easier on a river trip because they've had so much life to them already, and they're going to get a lot of use on this trip. So I highly recommend not just bringing the pair of shoes that you have had really good luck with. Say you have Chacos that you have used for many, many years and you love them. I totally get that, but they may not be the best solution for you anymore, because we've seen a lot of the fasteners go out on Chacos and Tevas and all those different brands. We've seen a lot of those just wear out on river trips. And so I recommend not bringing those older shoes and instead getting a newer pair of the shoes that you really like, so that you have a good solid start with some new pair of shoes down there. We see a lot of blowouts in shoes in general on river trips, and a lot of shoes end up being like duct taped together and stuff like that. And so even though you may want to just bring your old shoes that you've had a lot of luck with, which I totally understand, buying a new pair of them might just be your best bet in the end. And then honestly, bring the shoes that you're already comfortable in. If you know a pair of shoes that you really like already, a certain brand or a certain style or whatever that is, bring those. Those are probably going to be the best for you. Obviously, if you want something that's a little sturdier for this trip, you absolutely can buy something a little sturdier for this trip. Say you really like a pair of Merrells that you have, but you feel like you might need a little more ankle support on these trips. Absolutely go out and buy a pair of shoes that has a little more ankle support for sure, if that's something you need. But in general, I recommend that whatever you're already comfortable hiking in at home, that's going to be your best bet for what you want to hike in on this trip anyway. Because you're already used to those, you're already comfortable, you already know how those feel on your feet, and you know you like them already. So without further ado, let me show you a few different options for your hiking shoes that you can wear on this trip. And while I'm talking about this, I want to also state that don't bring shoes that are made out of leather, because those are really hard to dry out on these trips. And even though on a lot of our hikes you'll be going in and out of your dry hiking shoes and your wet river shoes, there are still times where you might be walking through creek beds and things like that in your hiking shoe, and leather shoes just don't dry out very easily. So I'm going to recommend against any type of leather shoe, just because they don't dry out well enough, even in the arid environment of Arizona. So these are personally my favorite pick. I really love Ultras in general. This is obviously the women's shoe specifically, but there's a men's version of this Lone Peak as well. They're super awesome. They have super good grippiness right here on the bottom, and that's what I love about them. I also really, really love this wide toe box. I personally don't actually have wide feet, but I still really like the way that this toe box feels on my foot. So this is going to be my preference. I really like these, and Ultra makes a few different styles of a hiking shoe. These are actually called trail runners. They make a lot of different styles of them, so feel free to like look at those and find different options for you. But Altra is a super good brand that they hold up really well, and I love them. Okay, so on to Hoka's is another brand that we see a lot of people wearing, and there's so many on here, so I'm not going to just pick one, but there's a lot of them have really good tread. A lot of them have a nice thick foot, and so people like that a lot. There's kind of like a good chunk of squishiness underneath their foot, so they like those. This is kind of just a little bit of everything, but these top ones right here would be great options because you can tell that they have really good tread on them, and that's again what you're going to want. And then a Merrell. These are tried and true. Lots of people love Merrells. They make Merrells in a nice high top hiker, so those are great for those of you that need a little more ankle support. And then these are just a low hiker that work really, really well for a lot of people. So I know a lot of people that really love these shoes. And then I also want to just show you that something like this, like these New Balance, these will work just fine too. People wear a lot of these like cross trainer type shoes, and these work just fine. I wore New Balance for a lot of years for sure until I found Ultras and realized how much I loved them. But I wore a lot of New Balance. I wore a lot of other brands similar to that on my hikes too. But you'll see that they have a pretty decent tread on them and tread pattern that'll just help you have really good footing and gripping while you're hiking. So those are just some examples of some really good hiking shoes. Again, you don't have to use any of these brands in particular. They're just ones that some of us in the office really like and have used really successfully, so we recommend these. Now to get into river shoes, I'm going to first show you what have become probably the most popular shoes amongst our guides, and these are the Bedrock sandals. They're not for everyone because not everyone loves this style of shoe right here, but what's really nice about these is that they're really comfortable. They fit to your foot. They have really good tread on them on the bottom of them. And they have a super sturdy attaching system to your foot. And so the guides really, really like these a lot. And our guests are learning about these and finding out that they like them a lot too. So that's one option. And then Keens are probably one of the most popular that I actually see on river trips for a good reason, absolutely. It's nice because they have the toe covering on the front. So for those of you that maybe want a little bit of extra toe protection, these Keens work really, really well because they do have this toe protection up front. And you can wear these pretty easily on the side hikes we do on our river trips and on the boats. And so they work really well for both styles. Now, even that being said, I want you to have a hiking shoe and a river shoe, but these work really nicely for people who want to wear these on the hikes where maybe we're walking through some water quite a bit. So it works really, really well for that. There's so many different styles of these. I wouldn't go with these leather ones. That would be my recommendation. But any other style like these are super popular. And Keen has lots of different types of sandals. I would not ever wear a flip-flop as your main shoe without a back strap as your river shoe, but they would work well for wearing in camp if that's something that you wanted to do. And then there's more styles like these, and there's some even that are more like these that are a little bit sturdier. One thing that I personally don't like with the Keen is how many rocks and pebbles get stuck in my shoe with these. So if that's something that annoys you, maybe we're not going to go with a Keen. But again, these are super popular and lots of people like them for sure. River shoe wise, I personally wear Chacos. That's actually just the shoe that I got when I went on my very first river trip with Azra, and so they have worked really well for me. I personally don't like the toe strap on my Chacos, but some people really like that. There's lots of different styles. The nice part about these though is that they're going to stay really sturdy on your feet. Their fasteners are really solid and they have really good tread on them too. So Chacos are a really, really great option for lots of people these days for sure. And then Teva, they still make a good shoe out there too. I would say I see these probably least likely these days, but there's certainly still a option for sure to wear. And they make like a hiking boot and hiking shoes that you can look into as well. Again, just make sure that you're not getting anything that is leather. And I wouldn't worry too much about having a waterproof hiking shoe. They certainly make those these days. That would be personal preference, honestly. I don't really find that that's something that you need. In fact, they might just be, again, more annoying than anything else. So I would just personally go with anything that's going to quick dry. Honestly, that would be my biggest go-to. So those are really the options that I find work the best for people and I have personally had a lot of luck with. And so I really hope that this is helpful to you you. Hopefully you got a few ideas of what you can look for in a hiking shoe and a river shoe to help you make the best decision that you need. And we can't wait to see you next time. Keep on adventuring.
Arizona raft adventures, take the mud.